Okay, so this question talks about a cumulative frequency table. So we've got to remember cumulative frequency means add up as you go along. So cumulative add up, we've got to add up the frequencies. So we're starting with 8, that was less than 200. And then we're adding on 15, so we've got to keep adding on as we go down. So 8 plus 15 is 23. 23 plus 30 is 53. Plus 17 is 70, plus 7 is 77, plus 3 is 80. Now the check, quite often in the question they'll give you a hint that the total number of people or items in the whole table, in this case they told you it was 80, and we got down to 80 at the bottom of our cumulative frequency, so that could be quite reasonable. It wants you to draw a cumulative frequency graph. So what you've got to remember about drawing cumulative frequency graphs is that a cumulative frequency graph will always be increasing. So that's really important that you remember it's going to be doing that, not that. Okay, so we know that's going to happen. We've also got to remember cumulative frequency graphs that we plot the end of the interval. So it's really important that we remember to plot the end of the interval against the frequency. So against the cumulative frequency, just call it CF. So when we're plotting this graph, that's what we've got to do. Okay, so the graph's over the page. So we've got to do 208. So we look at the scale. So 200, each square is worth 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then it's 323. 453, 570, 677, and 780. Again, it's important we recognise that cumulative frequency graphs don't have to go to the top of the graph. And we should recognise where it starts. Because this one goes down to 100, then we know the bottom value will be 100, as nothing happened below 100. So we know where it starts, and we just draw the smoothest curve we can through all the crosses. So what I tend to do is ghost the drawing to allow me to then try and do with one movement, not taking the pen off the paper at all, the best curve you can through all the crosses. So that's the cumulative frequency graph drawn. Now quite often with cumulative frequency graphs they want you to calculate a variety of values. So they might want you to do the median. So while we're on the graph we might as well do that. Now the median's halfway, so half of 80 people is 40. So we come down and we read off. So in this case the median is equal to 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, so £350. They might want you to do the interquartile range. So interquartile range has a simple formula. IQR is the upper quartile value minus the lower quartile value. Now the hint of the interquartile range is about quarters, so quarterways. So a quarter of 80 is 20. Now these are estimates from graphs, so we don't have to be here totally precise, because the true quarterway would not be exactly 20. So the lower quartile is 280. And the upper quartile, well, what I tend to do is I think about it being the two values here added together, so 60. 3/4, a quarter plus a half. So the upper quartile value is £430. Now you might get different values to what I did, purely because of the way you drew your curve. So each of us could be slightly out by 1 square, and the exam board take account of that by allowing 1 square difference, so £10 away from each value they are expecting, up or below. So the interquartile range then is the upper quartile value of 430, take away the lower quartile value of 280, which in this case will be £150. They might say how many people had a wage over 500 for argument's sake. So remember, the way you do that is you draw from 500 up to your graph, come across and then read off how many people were above 500, and all of these were below 500. So again, lots of different questions they could have asked. So let's see what the actual questions were. So use your graph to estimate the interquartile range. Well, we did that. So the interquartile range was 150. So £150. And then it says use the graph to find an estimate for the number of workers with a weekly wage of more than £530. Okay, so we go to the graph. 530, 510, 520, 530. And we come across. So what to realise is that it's above. How many people were above there? So that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8 people. So the answer there would be 8 people. And again, we get the mark because we've been sensible enough to show our method by reading off. So those were above and these would be below. So that's a reminder about cumulative frequency graphs and their use and the kind of questions they can ask you in calculating the medians, the interquartile ranges, or reading off particular values. Just remember things like the interquartile range is a measure of 50% of your data, ignoring extreme values. The median tells you what the middle person is or the middle item is, so 50% of the data is below that and 50% of the data is above that, and so forth. So cumulative frequency